I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by a very, very talented and very wonderful actor from our industry, Mr. Sanjay Suri. A warm welcome to you on Filme Shilmy and congratulations on Avrodh on Sony LIV.
Thank you, Arnold. It's a pleasure to be here and talking to you across, can we say 7 seas?
Saat Samandar Par.
Start Samandar Par.
No, wonderful. I mean, your character in Avrodh, I mean, the trailer that we've seen, it seems to be very multi-dimensional. I feel. I mean, I think we were just having a chat, and you were describing that your character is not just, he's not a politician, but he's an academic. He's Pakistani born, and he's lived internationally. So, Sanjay, how was your experience playing such a multi-dimensional character? As I said.
To begin with, I was very excited to play this part. Because I'm usually offered the goody two shoes, nice guy kind of roles, and here Mr. Samar Khan, who's heading Juggernaut Productions, and he said, "Bro, I have something which you might just like." So I've known him for a couple of years. I said, "What is it?" He said, "Antagonist and from up north." So I thought up north would be Kashmir. I come from Kashmir, so I said, "Okay, that's exciting enough." And he said, "No, I'm taking you further up." So I said, "Okay, where am I going?" He said, "You play a Pakistani." I said, "Fab, that's a great idea." And we were like, he was having a cigarette outside his office, and he was, pitching this to me. And I said, "You don't need to go ahead, just pitch my name to Applause and Sony and all." He said, "I've already done it." So I said, "Fab. So what do I need to do? Do I need to audition and things like that?" He said, "Well, you have enough body of work." I said, "No, I'm happy to audition." He said, No. Let's just have a meeting with the director and figure out the possibilities, because we don't want him to be a typical, how we've seen, someone who's anti-India and from Pakistan. So like that. So his background is different. His intention is slightly more deadlier than just bloodshed. And so he's a suave guy, very well educated, probably, studied a bit here and a bit there internationally. So I said, that's exciting. I come from the north, so mannerisms and whatever language is not a problem. And so let's go for it. And this character was there, very well written in the entire series, and kind of the mastermind behind a lot that is happening. So it was really exciting to play him. So he's a radicalized, Western bred militant, and who knows the numbers, who has strategy, who understands technology, who is sort of into financial terrorism with a one point agenda. So he's coming from that sort of mindset. So a think tank plus a great deal maker. So wow. He's a businessman too. So he's good with his deals and negotiations.
I feel like that character trope that you've described is actually quite scary, because here you are seeing someone who is, quote unquote, intellectual, but yet they're engaging in such ghastly events and ghastly actions.
Yes.
So I guess for you to be faced with a dilemma as an actor, it must have been quite emotionally bewildering for you in that sense.
Yeah, so there are two aspects to this. One is that I've personally suffered in Kashmir and been sort of a victim of the entire genocide that happened there, and then to play someone who's completely so you got to detach yourself from you as a person, and then you play your part. You play the character. So that initially. So I find it more exciting because I have to come out of my comfort zone. So once that is taken care of, then the face of terror, which we know has changed, right? The face of terror has changed, and new ways and new things are being sort of done to how things can disrupt another nation or things and all. So it's far more deadlier. It's far more mean, it's far more criminal, it's far more sort of it's like a termite, just kind of destroying you from inside. And I would say that for you to approach, it's like while you're reading this is also there's like, oh my God, he's really mean. All this he's doing. But then in the moment you just perform, and whatever is required of you, you just do that. So for me, it's exciting. It's challenging. Challenging is sometimes overrated. That it's like a good surgeon going and operating on his patient. Every surgery is challenging, right? So anything can go wrong. So when I say it's a very challenging role, so not to undermine the role, but I would just say that you're in a zone. You got a script. You got a director to guide you. It's your bloody job. Just do it. There's not much. You don't have to go and train with a militant to play a militant, right?
True.
So,
it's like you playing a serial killer. You don't actually have to actively go.
You don't have to. Yeah.
I would like to hope no one ever does that, please.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
So from that point of view, it was exciting to enter a sort of a territory that you've not been before. And in the screenplay, what all he's doing, so that came as a surprise to me also when you read the screenplay for the first time.
Actually, this whole experience that you shared with me, it really does, it shakes me from within, Sanjay, because obviously you did mention that obviously you've closely encountered terrorism. I believe your father, unfortunately, was killed by terrorists as well in Kashmir. And as you know, the genocide is still continuing even 30 years later, and you've seen it from a very, very close lens. But how does one actually detach themselves and actually try and understand? Because I feel like a lot of times in Hindi content, we've seen a lot of justification of terrorists and why they become the terrorists that they do, because no one's ever born a villain, right? And I understand that, but very few survivor stories or survivor trauma is portrayed. Why do you think that is the case, and how do you think I guess Avrodh, in that sense, do you think will address these things in that sense too?
I know there've been a lot of stories where they've sort of justified, why this person became like this and that. But then there are many stories that why that person did not become. If my father was killed, like, why didn't I pick up a gun? Why did I move towards a more peace-loving life and more liberal life? And that's at a personal front. But when you in art, then the areas where you sort of also want to understand what takes a person to be so brainwashed and to go to such extremes. So as an artist, you try and delve into stories that you would. It's not that you want to understand it and to satisfy your logical mind. No, it's just like, what are the possibilities, of one person going this way, another one going this way. So for me, I can detach myself from the personal tragedy, and then in fact, I played long back, 2008. There was a film called Sikandar. I played a reformed militant. There was Arma.
Oh yes.
In that I was there, and Sudhir Mishra produced that film. So I played a reformed militant.
Right.
I played a scared Muslim man in Iraq. And which was based on the Gujarat,
the riot
incidents. Yeah, and then I played Ramchand in Pinjar because I understood displacement. I understood that you could be slapped on the road for no fault of yours. So those emotions are in me, and then it becomes, I kind of delve into that. But when I'm going the opposite way, where you're the violator, then also kind of I'm aware of, this guy is doing this, and these are going to be the consequences, right? So, but that's fiction. So it just sort of, I don't know. I would say that, I wouldn't say I feel it better, but I understand it better, kind of thing. As a human, I don't know as an artist if it comes out or not, but But I think sometimes less is more and less is said is better, and let the screenplay and the events that are going to take place show what this guy is capable of. You know, in fact, I played someone. I don't know if you saw a series on Netflix called Leila.
Yes. Yeah.
Leila. My presence is just last 6 minutes in the series, and of course I'm omnipresent everywhere. And he's created this dystopian kind of world, you know, and where his world is purist and, you know, very, very dangerous, very dangerous. So, but it was fun playing. That's fiction. So just go where you know, and explore the human mind. I mean, that's fascinating.
Right. So my next question is actually split in two parts. Number one, because of the fact that you are a producer, are you able to now actually portray your vision as a gatekeeper through your acting craft now, because you perhaps know what to look out for in other actors, especially when it came to your role in Avrodh, number one. And number two, because obviously you are a survivor of the Kashmiri Hindu genocide that happened in 1990, would you ever sort of bring your story to the screen as well, like we've already seen in the Kashmir Files recently?
So I'll say your second part first. So 2011, we made a film called I Am.
Yes.
An anthology, right? So one story dealt with that. It wasn't directly like, it could be my sister's story, you know. It's like a sister lost a friend. She goes back to visit her friend and sell the house. And so it's about loss, and understanding loss at both ends. One got uprooted, found, I would say, had to move ahead and continue with life. And one did not get uprooted, but is stagnant. So you know, there's loss at both levels. And any place of war or conflict, I think women suffer the maximum. You know,
true. Yeah.
It's suppressed throughout, and they just are. They're very strong, but no one is listening to them. They're managing home. They're managing a lot which just goes unnoticed, you know, and they suffer in silence. So for us, that story was a reflection of every displaced person. Firstly, if I had to go and make, I mean, yes, Kashmir Files has been made and this and that, but there are many stories that you can tell. Even if I had to tell my own story, maybe one day I would. So nothing's stopping me, but I need to get that, you know, call from the gut. So I had it earlier, but I'm glad I did not do it, because that could have, you know, it could have had hints of anger when I was young. But now it's sort of, you know, I've not forgotten. You forgive because, you know, in a way, you know, life has to go on, but it should not be repeated. So people say, oh, you know, it's inciting violence and inciting hatred and all. I say, I don't know how it's turned out, but when you watch Schindler's List, you want to know, the feeling is that you don't want to do this again.
Exactly.
You know, history should not repeat itself. So if a piece of art does that, communicate that history should not repeat. So you learn from that. So you can come out peaceful. So it's like that. Your first question as a gatekeeper, no, you know, to be honest, as an actor, you got to choose from what you know, your buffet is limited. And as independent films, which have not largely been part of mainstream, so my buffet is very small. I don't have many starters. It's just main course. Probably you'll get dessert or not, I don't know. So in independent films, that's the story. But within that, I'm happy I've been part of some lovely films, and which have a long tail and long shelf life. Still talked about, still watched at film festivals all over the world, and ahead of the times. Even if you look at film like, forget my brother Nikhil, Lion and Chauranga and all. If you look at Filhal, you know, Surrogacy.
Amazing.
You know, it was done way back. Films on Kargil War. Thoop, I had a small part. Om Puri Saab, you know, he was there. Fantastic film again. And Pinjar, you know, where are those kind of films being made now?
Right. And I think the first part was actually about you being a gatekeeper now. So are you able to identify what a potential filmmaker might look out for your craft when it came to Avrodh as well?
As a producer, no, when you go, I don't go fishing, that, okay, this is what I'm going to look out for, and there are two parts to fishing. Fishing, like you want a particular kind of fish, so you go in certain waters, and then you just go fishing, whatever you catch. So, so my thing is that if a story connects with me, I would do it. My acting would be second, even if I had to produce. If a story connects with me, I would go ahead and support it, and I would find ways for it to get made. But if it doesn't connect with me, and if I can't produce it, then I'll give it into sensible hands that we can do justice to it, and not disturb the fabric of the film. Just to cite an example, I remember when we were going to be producing My Brother Nikhil, we didn't want to do it ourselves. We wanted to pitch it to people, and someone said, get this female actor in the film, and because he spends a night with her and he gets AIDS and all. He's gay, man. I mean, he's not going to be spending a night with a woman, So no, to create a scene or something like that. So that's it. So when I went up on stage many times, I thanked all those people who did not produce My Brother Nikhil. So because they would have just spoiled the fabric of the film.
In fact, I must also tell you, as a gay man myself, I think My Brother Nikhil for me was the beginning of a renaissance, I think, in Indian cinema. If I'm honest,
That's
I
a big
think.
compliment. Thank you. That's a big compliment. I shall tell Onir.
Oh, I absolutely love Onir. I think what he's done for in terms of getting the LGBTQIA stories on
Yes.
somewhat of a mainstream platform, I think
Yes.
no
Yes.
other filmmaker has been able to do. And I think kudos goes to you and the entire team for doing that. But this actually brings me to my next question, Sanjay. I mean, you began I think was it Pyar Mein Kabhi Kabhi was the first film that you it was your
Yeah.
first film. And again, the sort of what I really like about you, and I don't want to use this term because I know a lot of actors hate this term, but the word underrated, I think if there is a word that really suits that, and not in a bad way, but in a good way, in a very positive way, I feel like you suit that because I somehow feel you've not got your dues as an actor. I somehow feel that even though you've done great work, I feel like you've not got that attention of as other mainstream actors would do. Do you think that's because of a systematic flaw that this industry has, where it just hypes up the mainstream actors, and whereas actors like yourself who have done what we would term as more independent content was a bit? Do you think you were sidelined at all in Hindi cinema? Do you think that?
To be honest, I give no attention to it, Anuj. I mean, thank you for recognizing, a lot, but I give no attention to it. I was a, uh, I was a refugee boy with nothing, with 5,000 rupees, whatever. I forget the money, but I came to this big city. It was called Bombay then, and I don't have a single 100 crore film, right? But I'm here for 20 years. So something must have been right. Right. So I'm just saying that I'm around and getting to do great work. I mean, good work, and being a part of, this entire analog to digital journey, and still somewhat relevant in some way. And so that's my, I look at the positives. And underrated, sometimes yes, I used to be okay, maybe underused, underutilized,
Underutilized. True.
underutilized,
Yeah.
underutilized. So I did feel like that, but one day I say, hey, but I've even today I have so many films to take to my grave as a producer or as an actor, so which are gonna, be around for a long time. And I'm happy that I was a part of many first film directors, more than 17, 18. Of course, Onir is one of them, and then we repeated, we did more films. Shujoy Ghosh, Meghna Gulzar, Subhash Kapoor, who made the Jolly LLB series, and his first film was Say Salam India,
Oh yes.
So, yeah. My friend Raj Kaushal, who's no more there, but he directed Pyar Mein Kabhi Kabhi. And today, KK is not there, but one of my best songs of it have been with KK and Salim Sulaiman's first film, Pyar Mein Kabhi Kabhi, Vishal Shekhar, Chankar Beats. So it's just, I've been very fortunate to get films like Chankar, my brother Nikhil, Pinjar, Filhal, Thoop, Firak. And collectively, if you look at all these films, there are more than a dozen national awards in different categories for different people, So I've been a part of that boat, and forget the numbers.
This approach that you have, I think it's very humbling to hear, and I think it's very heartwarming to hear. And of course, you definitely have a legacy behind you. I mean, that's a given. But do you think, again, because you've seen grief and tragedy from such a close eye, do you think that's what really detaches you from the whole film aspect in terms of the fame and the popularity and the dues that I said that you've not been given in terms of being underutilized? Do you think that's what it is? It's the fact that you have such a dark past behind you.
Yep. Well, if I had to psychoanalyze myself, probably yes, because I see this is not, it's fiction. End of the day, it's fiction. We're all playing a part, right? In this large, scheme of things. So for me, that journey becomes very important, honestly. And the result, of course, it's nice to know if film does well and it stays there. But again, there are two parts. When I lost my identity, because I grew up in a time when it used to take 3 years to get a telephone connection. Okay, there were no mobiles around, landline. It used to take connections and networking to get a gas connection in 90s. And having a migrant card, which should have been a refugee card. You migrate for greener pastures. You don't migrate out of displacement. So everything was wrong that time. And so looking at that, this was like, wow, they've accepted me. I'm working. They don't know me. So there's a term, vajood, right? Identity. So somewhere I was probably the lost identity I found through cinema. Wow. And going forward, I again wanted to lose that identity of being restricted to cinema. So we all have many things. I'm sure you got hobbies. You engage very well. Right now, you're engaging with me. You do the Q&A at the festivals. You're a cinephile. You watch movies. You, at a human level, you're many things. At a professional, you're many things, and they're sort of intermixed, right? So, at what stage one ends and the other begins, you lose perspective of that. At what point, I give importance to my work, but I don't take it too seriously. I'm there. I'll give more than 100%. But beyond that, hey, it's, you're going to move on. So I often, my friends laugh at me. I give this example of a river all the time. The river leaving the mountain and meeting with the ocean. The river remains wet, but its character keeps changing, right? So people say, hey, you've changed. Well, hell, I'm glad I've changed. I've grown.
Yeah.
So imagine being stuck in standard 10th, and it's a time flies. Oh my God, I'm glad it flies. You imagine people who are terminally ill, they want time to fly, but it doesn't. It's like that.
It's really interesting you said all this, because fun fact, I have literally had a conversation with my friend just recently where, hum 10 saal ki baat kar rahe the pehle, and I can't even identify myself as the 10 years ago.
Exactly. You are someone new now. Your experiences have made you. So we keep changing. Maybe the core remains somewhat similar, but a lot of things change.
Yeah.
So they're gonna yell at me that I have spoken about Avrodh, but yeah, Avrodh, it's an exciting series, and for me, I started very early on OTT with Inside Edge and all, but there was a bit of a gap. Now I did Metalhood and other series, but I'm excited for this one, and the role is exciting for me, to be honest.
Right. Yes, no, definitely. I think Avrodh will definitely be, I think, a very notable, I think, role for you, I'm sure. And it looks like a great series. I mean, I've not seen season one, but I saw this
Yeah,
trailer
yeah.
of season two and it looks fabulous, and I can't wait to watch it. But I think on a parting note before I go, and I know it's a bit of a somber note, and I know we're here to promote the show, and of course, but obviously, as you did mention, KK recently passed away, and one of the most notable songs of your career was sung by him as well. So if you could perhaps share maybe a memory or two just to tribute him and just to remember him and the legacy that he's left behind.
When so I was producing my brother Nikhil, and then and we wanted Le Chale song to be sung by him, and then there was a version that Sunidhi and Shan. So my voice was actually Shan, and Purab's voice was KK. And now KK was this great singer, and we are always short on funds, as independent producers. So
Yeah.
it's just his persona, and he told me, I said, "Okay, money is, he said, what you're making is never going to be about money, so don't worry about it." And it was not, it didn't end at my brother Nikhil. It just went on for most of our films. And then when Jankara wasn't producing, I was part of that film, and then his voice. So it's sometimes, you just feel that, hey, you just lost your voice, And I didn't write anything about it at his loss, something like that, because you don't have to publicly kind of mourn all the time. But the loss is irreparable. But fond memory is that he was more than available to us, Onir and me both, to be a part of any project. And you didn't have to discuss financials with them. Said, whatever you have, or you don't have to worry. I work with you because I like working with you. And so that it's just, they just spoke a lot about him. Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. Gone too soon, man.
Absolutely. The voice of our childhood has now faded and
Yes,
become a
yes,
distant
yes.
memory, which is
Yeah.
really sad. But no, look, but on that note, I'm very excited for Avrodh season two, which is going to be streaming on SonyLIV from 24th of June. It looks like a very engaging war thriller series, wherein Sanjay Suri is set to play a very, as I mentioned many a times in the interview, a multidimensional character, and I cannot wait to watch you back in action, quite literally, Sanjay, in this show. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you, Anuj.
Thank you so much for joining
Nice.
me, Sanjay. It's been such a pleasure, and whenever you're in London, please hit me up. It'll be lovely to catch up with you and to meet you as well.
Definitely, definitely. Add Sanjay Suri on Insta, we'll just connect. Okay.
Fabulous. Sounds good. All right,
Thank you.
Sanjay. Thank you so
Bye
much.
bye.
Bye
Bye bye.
bye.
Bless you. Bye bye.